Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Tuesday edition video, as I feel like it's probably been too long since we've had our last intermediate player guide video, but here we are. I'm going to try to focus on resuming the series, and maybe soon we'll be moving into, I don't know if I'm going to call it the veteran player guide series or something like that, but we are here today with the Tier 10 British battleship, the Conqueror. Very solid performing Tier 10 battleship in World of Warships, and she's not, I would say, not really been power crept too much as the game has gone on. We'll get into, maybe I talk a little more about the ship, but today's focus in part 26 is talking about all about the right ammo. This is something as a beginner player you'll be figuring out, and you're kind of learning the differences when should you use high explosive, armor piercing, semi-armor piercing, all these things. And then when you become a intermediate player, you're beginning to grasp when you should use the high explosive and armor piercing. And I would say, you know, part of this video I was like, you know, could consider this being a veteran player guide video or start to a new one. But your pro players, Unicum players, however you want to phrase it, just performing really well in the game, understand the significance of the right ammo, whether you're using the armor piercing or the high explosive, and that entails a lot of nitty-gritty details. I don't know if I'm necessarily getting out to those in this video, but probably at some point maybe I do an in-depth look at it. Now we're here in Sea of Fortune in the denomination mode. And if you're wondering about this camouflage, it's just from playing ranked. It's the silver camouflage, so I like running it on Conqueror because I have enough of them right now. Now, in connection and talking about the right ammo, there's going to be a lot of good examples, I think, for myself, a lot of good examples of positioning here in Conqueror. So, you know, among being of the 4 battleships on our team, excuse me, 5, we are working the flank, right? That's kind of where we spawned at, and that's what we're looking at. And I'm desperately trying to get a fire set on this enemy Musashi. As yesterday's ship, I featured the Brisbane. You can see he's going to be sailing along, and so we're going to be dealing with him here and there throughout the battle. Now, it is important to note, and we're talking about this longer range, and you can kind of see the shell spread kind of seemed a bit everywhere there. The sigma on Conqueror is 1.8. Your maximum dispersion horizontally is 282 meters, and maximum dispersion vertically 169 meters. Now that's with the aiming systems mod in the 3rd slot, which reduces your maximum main battery shell dispersion. If I were to compare the accuracy of Conqueror with something like Montana, I'll give you that in just a moment as I pull that up. Now, if I'm not, you don't get to take that in the 3rd slot, but for example, you have 1.9 sigma on Montana, 297 meters dispersion horizontally, and then vertically 178 meters. But if I take the artillery plotting room mod 2, that's going to reduce dispersion by -11%. So then even tighter shell grouping. So in comparison to Montana or Conqueror, Conqueror has worse dispersion, and I'm just referencing that to give you a frame of mind and just talking about the ship. Now, typically what I like to do, for example, we're talking about battleships, right? So Conqueror, she has these 12-419 millimeter guns. Now, here's an example of having the right ammo choice. The Brisbane. It's a light cruiser, same armor scheme, if I'm not mistaken, of the Tier 10 British light cruiser, the Minotaur. And you can HE Citadel a Brisbane with high explosive, because these shells are large enough to do it, okay? Now, if I used armor piercing on the Brisbane, I'm likely to just overpin. Now, the example of where that may change is if Brisbane is sailing straight away, let's say Brisbane's kiting, running, angled, or just straight away from me, then I would switch to armor piercing because I can Citadel Brisbane through her deck in the rear of the ship. There's no way she's going to be able to position unless she catches some of my shells on her belt armor and possibly ricochet. That's the only way Brisbane's going to be able to get away with that. So we're pretty comfortable just utilizing the high explosive for now. We've pushed Musashi out. I mean, we only took a couple salvos and Musashi's like, I'm not going to support this flank, okay? So there's an example there for you of needing positioning. Musashi's just abandoned the flank. He's going to go over at A, and there's not a lot happening at A right now. So he's going to allow myself and the Conqueror, the Genon, and then I can't remember. I have to see him. I think it's Colbert and myself. Just push up. We don't have to worry about being punished, okay? So I have this enemy, Andalusia. He doesn't have fantastic armor. And I'm waiting. I'm holding the shot. Okay, I'm holding the shot thinking he's going to go broadside. He kind of indicated to me that he wanted to go behind the island. But then Brisbane gets a little greedy. He's reversing out here. And I'm like, well, you've just messed up because I know I can lob my shells over that part of the island. And HE Citadel for 10k. And we set a fire that he's not going to be able to put out. And we're being mindful to try to stay bowing because we know there's an enemy destroyer over here. And it's going to be our first kill and getting a fire kill on Brisbane of all things. Now, you can see after that decision was made, Andalusia has put himself in a position where he's just out in the open. So I've immediately switched to armor piercing. And I'm like, oh, maybe we can shoot to the destroyer here, but he goes dark. And I want to bring all my guns to bear on Andalusia. Now, I know he has the torpedoes, so I'm going to have to be mindful of that. But I can overmatch Andalusia through the bow. Okay, but this is where dispersion really trolls us here. We get 2 pins and 1 ricochet out of 12 shots fired 6 kilometers away. So a bit unfortunate for us, but we did fire, I think, a little bit of those shells over Gapla Island. So I don't know if there's still a bit of that island bug happening and going on. But this Andalusia is a bit screwed. And I decide, you know, we can't just go bow in. I can pretty much shoot him anywhere, but we'll shoot in the upper side of the hull there. And then immediately we've picked out our second target, a Des Moines. And if Des Moines goes a little more broadside, we might be able to even Citadel him. So things have worked out for us quite well here in this encounter. We've collapsed their flank, and now we'll be able to push up and apply more pressure. Now again, immediately I've switched back to high explosive. We've got some destroyers in the area, or one destroyer that we know of for the time being. We have a Genon with us. Unfortunately, we lost the I think it was a Colbert on our team, but that was mostly due, I think the Andalusia pushed a funny button, maybe I'm mistaken. But I wasn't really paying attention to exactly what happened when he died. So he's no longer with us. So when we have a destroyer, we don't know where he's at. Right, I decide, let's kill the throttle. You want to throw off destroyers, you kill your throttle, and you change course, you change direction. This destroyer could really be anywhere around right now. And look at there. Torpedoes is a set of 5. We're unfortunately going to take 1 torpedo set. And I was like, maybe I should hang on to my damage control party. Maybe not. Yeah, it is a Shimakaze. So we're going to get the shot off on him just as he goes dark. And then now I need to accelerate and I need to go bow in. And knowing that was a Shimakaze, I was like debating whether or not to use that DCP. And I did. And unfortunately, more torpedoes. Okay, so props to the Shimakaze. He played that really well if he was playing that intentionally. And he's going to get double flood on us, and he's going to bust our steering gears. So that's really unfortunate for us. So we're going to look to try to slow down our speed heal here, and we have to wait for our repair party to come up. So you'll see more examples of the right ammo choice. It's just a little bit of I say it's a slow start, but it's not. It's just we got to get through these cruisers and destroyers here before we can really line up some beautiful shots on the rest of the enemy team who's now pushing through A. So we're going to slow down here. I'm a little mindful. Maybe Marceau's dumped some torpedoes my way. He's got 9-kilometer torpedoes, but we have our friendly Marceau who's running in between us, so I feel pretty safe. Waiting for the steering gears to be repaired, and then we're going to pop this heal. And that's one of the beautiful things about Conqueror. She's got that really massive heal where we can basically bring the ship back from the dead and back over half the health. So that's just one of the things I really like about Conqueror. She's pretty just straightforward with these 419mm guns. She's got fantastic high explosive, fantastic armor piercing, an amazing heal, and not really complicated overall. Now, smelling a third kill here, decide to go for the Marceau. It's a long shot, right? French destroyer goes really fast. But I was like, hey, this is Conquer Dispersion. And we do land one shell hit, but unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to get the kill. Now, here's the fun part. You've had some enemy cruisers over here, Des Moines and her sister ship Salem, that has been basically chilling out here. So now I go ahead and make the choice. You know, with their broadside, they don't really seem to respect the threat that I pose now to their side. Let's switch to armor piercing. Okay, we've got time for this. We're not in a rush. So we're gonna go dark as we go in behind the island here, and lining up a salvo. So now this is really becomes more of the dispersion of RNGesus, but seeing how this lines up. So unfortunately, just 2 overpins, 1 pin. And this is where Salem makes a mistake. He decides that he's going to slow down, he's going to reverse out, and maybe he can get some more shots on us. I don't know what exactly, if it's just because he was greedy, but seeing that he's going to see these torpedoes, I know he's most likely going to want to accelerate forward, not to eat that 3rd torpedo, which means his salvo is going to line up really nice, and we're just going to take him out. We could have killed him even with high explosive, but we didn't know, for sure if those torpedoes were going to hit or not. So really good play with our destroyer teammates up to the north, who are doing a fantastic job collapsing and wrapping around, making sure that that Marceau player who's really low doesn't come back in behind us. Okay, now we're going to play essential battleship positioning. Okay, so we have the Yamato here. I look up over, high explosive, now let's switch to armor piercing. There's only one way that Yamato, well, he could reverse, okay, or ideally, he's gonna push forward, and meaning that once he gets past that little jettison of the island he's passing right now, he's gonna be completely broadside to me. Now, this is also where knowing ships in the game helps out a lot. So Yamato, I'm in pretty vulnerable broadside, but especially underneath the frontal plating. So I'm drilling for this chance to get a 4th kill here. Okay, so he comes out, we've been holding, been waiting patiently, and this looks like it's gonna be a very good play salvo. It is gonna be 2 citadels, and we're gonna pick up our 4th kill. So I'm pretty pumped about this positioning that we're in right now. In this positioning as well, we're denying, I think there's an enemy Ohio, and there's gonna be another battleship eventually up north. I think actually another Yamato. So we're just denying them fire on us, while we basically let our destroyers spot for us. Look at a phenomenal job. I can't say enough about how good the destroyers players, both the guys up on the sea line, not necessarily they need to follow each other that closely, but they're providing the spotting really needing here to get some shots away. Now this is an example. I was like, do I switch to back from armor piercing to high explosive? It's Musashi's bow in, and yeah, non-pin and ricochet. So I thought, well, just go ahead and fire it versus just switching out. But switching out probably would be the better choice, and then switching back into yeah, the high explosive. So now we're on the high explosive. Bow in Musashi, sister ship to the Yamato. Plenty of health to share with us. How is this salvo going to go? Yeah, so much better result, and a lot more shells landed that time around than the previous round. And we're like, wait, this Musashi player is pushing up, and he looks like he might be doing something super similar as his previous teammate in the Yamato did earlier, right? So either Musashi is going to have a choice here, okay? Recognizing the positioning, this helps inform you in choosing the right ammo. Either Musashi has to turn, go north towards the destroyers, or he has to turn south, going down the A line towards the J line, excuse me, or down the 4 line is what I was trying to say, or he's going to just push bow into us, which would be kind of done with the Schlieffen sitting there, okay? So I go ahead and take a shot on the Gunlu for the time being. I know I'm pronouncing that ship wrong, it's whatever. And Musashi has decided to go down the 4 line, which is really good news for us. So we're going to accelerate a bit forward. Be still mindful to our 2 battleships on the 5 line. So we're waiting. Decide to use the air depth charge airstrike. Okay, he's moved up. He's really close to there. Bam! Pop the salvo off. I'm drilling, thinking, oh, is this going to be it? Is this going to be the Kraken unleashed? And no. 23,000 damage. We spike him in close to an inch of his life, and maybe a few feet of his life, or something like that. I don't know. But the kill's going to go to either the Rooster or Schlieffen, most likely there. So I'm pretty pumped in chat. This was when I was having a really good weekend playing World of Warships. So now we have a threat to the north. We have the Yamato, which has the same weakness as the Musashi and the other Yamato we've had earlier. And he's broadside enough to us we can actually get him in the cheek. So we go for it, and then dude, we get 30,000, we get him in the cheek. All because we're just simply sitting here practicing ammo switching. Now I do need to make mention that I have Jack Dunkirk, or he has a brother commander, Bert Dunkirk, had the same enhanced skills. You can get him in the armory for doubloons or Jack Dunkirk in the Dunkirk collection, where it has a plus 20%, plus 25% for battleship traverse, so gun main battery traverse, grease the gears, versus the normal 20%. And I'm so entranced into the battle, I don't realize that the game is ending, or I would have taken that broadside salvo on Ohio, because I was really wanting that Kraken unleashed. So knowing ship's weaknesses, like I was kind of illustrating, whether it be the Brisbane, you're shooting destroyers, you know, Brisbane's facing away, we're going to switch from high explosive to armor piercing, to the battleships. We were really able to punish, and if you pay attention, our damage went up really fast once we dealt with that Shimakaze, our team did. And moving to that central positioning, we were just able to expose a lot, had a really good team, so I did compliment the Marcel Yamato gearing and our other friendly Yamato. So it's just a really good game all around. And that is the power of just knowing the right ammo. This is an example of a battleship, and maybe it gets a little more tricky when you get to talk about maybe a cruiser or a destroyer. And it does depend on what type of ship we're talking about, right? Not only just the size of the shells, but you know, whether it be shell velocity, their penetration capacity. You know, like the German cruisers get like I think quarter pin value, or most other ships just get destroyers or cruisers get 1/6 pin value. I think, if I'm saying off the top of my head correctly. I'll correct it here in the video if I said that wrong. I'll check after finishing recording this. So I hope you appreciated another intermediate guide video on just choosing the right ammo, but that's a lot of damage guy. Yes, he's a very fond one for the American culture. So if you liked this video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.